Cheers. Thanks for joining. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America. My name is BrianEngelman. Today is Saturday, June 28th, 2025, and this is the TNAM Daily Show, a division of the Agree to Disagree podcast here on the New American Media. It's the weekend, so we're going to go see what's happening in the universe, what people are talking about. So jump in, type your comments, and we will populate this area over here with your comments. Keep the conversation going, ask your questions, leave your thoughts, drop your jokes. We're all about laughing a little bit over here because you could either laugh or cry, right? All right, let's join the show right now.
Your guide to the truth, thenewamericanmedia.com.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here on this Saturday. We're going to start with some sports news because I do a sports show called the Unhappy Hour Sports Show. If any of you want these are wooden-made coasters, a set of 4. Let me put the link up on our Venmo is probably the best way. Shoot $30 over. I'll send you a set of these. It includes shipping. If you want both of them, that would be 8 wooden Ohio-made coasters, laser etched. Look how thick those things are. Shoot me $50 on Venmo along with your address and say both. Or if you want the pin also, there's a pin in here. There's only 100 of these ever made. The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Shoot me $75 and your address, and I will mail all 3 of these, shipping included. But yes, because it's a sports show that I do on the side, occasionally I discuss the mundane here on the Daily Show. I don't apologize for talking sports, but I do try to keep it focused. If I want to do a fully sports-oriented show, I would launch an episode of The Unhappy Hour. Hello, Deb or Rooney? The Sacramento cheat. Yeah, I'll try to get the city right this time. All right, breaking in the mundane news. The Chicago Bulls are trading Lonzo Ball to the Cavaliers for Isaac Okoro. Sources are telling ESPN. Lonzo Ball, point guard. I'm wondering if this means that Ty Jerome will be on his way out as a free agent. Not sure the latest there, but he was drafted 2017. He's 27 years old. Round 1, the number 2 overall pick, the Los Angeles Lakers. Look at that. Last year averaged 7 points, 7.6 points, 3.4 rebounds, 3.3 assists. And then Isaac Okoro averaged 6.1 points, 2.4 rebounds, 1.2 assists. He's a small forward. Or does this move mean that we're going to be getting LeBron James this offseason? Maybe LeBron wants to retire a Cav. Maybe he sees a wide open East, especially with the injuries to Halliburton and on the Celtics. A wide open East. Why not come back home, retire as a Cav? Who knows? We'll see. It'd be nice to win one without him. But yeah, that's happening in the world of sports right now. So I just wanted to give you the update. All right. Let's jump into the news of the day. Let's go side by side. Deb is saying, what are you saying? You saying you can't find us on PayPal at Fuzz Installment? Really? Why would that be a thing? Are you trying at Fuzz Installments? And how do I do this? Let me see here. You can scan this. Here, look. You're good at pausing and going back. That's where it is. Snapshot. See if that works. Let me see real quick, because this shouldn't be complicated. It says at Fuzz Installment. Are you trying at Fuzz Installment? One word. I don't know. Let me know if that works. Let me know if it doesn't. All right. Yeah, I don't know how else to do it. At Fuzz Installment. INSTALLMENT. I don't know. I mean, if I have to, I could request from you, and whatever you're thinking, I appreciate, by the way. Anybody who likes independent journalism, thank you so much for helping us along this journey. We provide a lot of content. We sift through a lot of stuff throughout the day and try to deliver it in an interesting, fun manner. But yes, Cash App and PayPal. Cash App is with Venmo at BrianEngelman, and then at Fuzz Installment is PayPal, allegedly. Hope so. All right, let's listen to President Trump. This was maybe the most interesting interview from yesterday, and there were several. Media Research Center has President Trump here discussing the big, beautiful bill and massive tax cuts and the general health of the economy, especially involving tariffs. Let's take a listen to this question.
Mr. President, a leading global economist just did a 180 and says your tariff plan, you may have outsmarted everybody with it. What is your message?
I love this. I love this question. This is the favorite. This is the best question I've ever been asked, because I've been going through abuse for years on this.
But Mr.
Because as you know, we're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars, no inflation whatsoever.
But Mr. President, what is your message to critics who think your tariff plan will cause a recession?
I think they should go back to business school.
Mr. President, a leading...
So should they go back to business school? Let me ask the question. Do you agree or disagree that President Trump outsmarted his critics and is clearly winning this tariff debate? I mean, it's very preliminary. I don't know that I could jump to that conclusion yet, but as our comments say, it's great to see facts rising through the ranks of questions. America used to thrive without an income tax, and maybe we can again. Maybe we can again. Breaking. The Supreme Court has legalized the Trump presidency. Supreme Court ruled on about 4 different issues yesterday. We covered most of them yesterday, and we'll see as they pop up in the rest of our feed to discuss them again. But yeah, Supreme Court had to step in and just be like, you can't issue nationwide injunctions as a local judge. You can maybe rule for your local area, but you don't get to tell the rest of the nation what's going on. That's for the Supreme Court. And so that was a big, important question that needed to be resolved in the Supreme Court. Now, this means that if a Democrat were ever elected again, and let's hope they're not, or selected, installed again, let's hope they're not. So I'm not convinced they're as popular as they've made it out to be at all. I think they're about a 19 to 25% party. If you got somebody extra charismatic, maybe it's 35, 65, 40, 60, 45, 55. I just don't think there's overwhelming support for that party, and they've proven why they shouldn't be allowed near the levers of power, given what we witnessed over the past 4 years of this Biden puppet presidency. So yeah, the Supreme Court got to work yesterday. Try it all lowercase. I don't know. Try it all lowercase. Fuzz installment, all lowercase. I don't know. I don't know why capitalization would matter. Capitalized lives matter. Hello, David Bann. How are you, sir? Here, we can go ahead and put the chat up on the screen here. Lowercase f would be the good name of a band or a song or an album. Okay, so here,
regarding
yesterday we kind of covered the first two stories about the Supreme Court, and then there were two more. So this is kind of like the timeline in our Friday coverage here. There were more rulings after we wrapped our show. So here's one of them. More Supreme Court action.
Religious liberty and whether parents should be informed and be able to opt their children out from reading books in the classroom that go against their faith. Shannon Bream is at the Supreme Court. We were watching for this one. What's the verdict?
We were, Dana. So this brought together a coalition of parents of different religious faiths and backgrounds who said there used to be a rule in this particular school district that would let them know when there were books that dealt with issues that may be in conflict with their religious faith. Well, so many parents were opting out that the school board and the school district quit doing it. Well, 6-3 today in a decision by Justice
Hold on,
Alito.
did you catch that? So many people were opting out. They just stopped letting people opt out. Do you see what's going on here? The parents don't want to have anything to do with this weird grooming behavior. Not talking about any one particular act, any one particular group in general. But there is a grooming push from academia to really, I mean, we've seen this with the gender dysphoria push. They call it a mind virus. The gender confusion being pushed onto impressionable kids. That's tough to say. Gender confusion pushed onto impressionable kids. It's not easy to say. There were so many parents opting out, they just stopped letting people opt out. I think that's what I heard her say. Well, read the room, school board. If none of the parents want the weird stuff happening, stop doing it. Reading, writing, arithmetic, nuts and bolts, how to be successful in society, like all your unique, weird, confusing propaganda, keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself is what the Supreme Court seems to be saying here, in agreement with all of the parents that were also saying, keep this stuff away from my kids. This is not appropriate for elementary school.
They said
or for whatever grade it is.
These parents have earned at least a preliminary injunction. So while this case plays out, they said the board has to notify them about a book that's in question or anything similar so that their kids can be excused if it's in conflict with their faith. He says, as we've explained, without that, parents are left this choice, either risk their child's exposure to burdensome instruction or pay substantial sums for alternative educational services. Because at one point, Justice Jackson during the arguments had said, why don't they just go to a different school? Why don't
they just go to a different school? Oh, that was Ketanji Brown. Is there anybody less qualified than Ketanji Brown Jackson? By the way, these parents are already paying their taxes. They should have the ability to send their kid to a school that's not going to have radical Marxist indoctrination. Well, are you saying, no, I'm not saying about any particular, but when it gets into this topic of stuff that parents don't want adults approaching these topics with their kids, they have a right to opt them out. And it shouldn't be weird. It shouldn't be like that Simpsons episode where Lenny tries to walk out of the leader's presentation and they put the spotlight on him. He's like, Okay, Deb, now I'm genuinely curious. Deb, what is your PayPal? Let me see if I can request. How do I do that? I have a message center. What's this? Okay. How do I do this? Send a request. What is yours, Deb? What is your PayPal? Now I'm curious because it should be working. I don't know.
You put them in private school or homeschool them.
Anyway, Ketanji Brown Jackson says, well, why not just put your kids in private school? It's like, you already paid for one school. Just make it a school that's fair for everybody.
Justice Alito and others saying that's not practical for a lot of people. The dissent by Justice Sotomayor, joined by Justices Kagan and Jackson, says today's ruling threatens the essence of public education.
Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson are almost always on the wrong side of almost every issue. It's astonishing how these three were allowed to get appointed.
He says it's not about bringing kids together to learn about a particular faith, but a range of concepts and views that reflect our entire society. Exposure to new ideas has always been a vital part of that project until now.
Yeah, there's age-appropriate stuff.
The dissenters didn't think that the parents should get the opt-out. Justice Alito and the majority say they should.
Majority opinion.
All right, regarding religious liberty and whether parents should be informed and be able to opt their...
Oh, I typed this comment wrong. I'm glad I noticed it. Let me delete this and repost. Students belong to parents, not to the state and not to groomers. That's our comment. Kostas Moros says, holy shnikes. This is about as brutal as I've ever seen the Supreme Court be to one of their own. Translated, you are so stupid that you aren't even worth responding to. Let me full screen it. All right, I'm going to try something in real time now that PayPal is being weird. Deb, how much am I requesting? I was going to do $1 million. That would be funny. Be like, hey, something you don't know about me. I got $1 million sitting around. Where is that link? There it is. Lavin, Lavin. I see Deb Ice and Deborah Murray. This is weird. Why isn't this working? Deborah Lavin? Can't find the right contact. It's not working for me either. All right. On X, Deb, shoot me a direct message on text to American_media_. Put your phone number in there because I can add a phone number. But it gives me two options. When I put, here, let me show you. We're working a bug out. We're working something out in real time. So when I type Deborah Lavin, it showed me Deb Ice and Deborah Murray. You're searching by my email. Is it at fuzzinstallment at Yahoo? At fuzzinstallment at yahoo.com? You can't search for yourself. Yeah, so fuzzinstallment at yahoo.com. That should be the email. So weird. Oh, I can't follow because I'm upside down on the account. I can't follow new accounts. Good grief. Try that email, fuzzinstallment at yahoo.com. So Kostas Moro says, holy S, it's about as brutal as I've ever seen the Supreme Court be. It says, we will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. We observe only this. Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. The comments, per my last email, energy. Communism Survivor says, what do you expect from a DEI hire who can't even explain what a woman is. Good grief. By the way, before you're like, oh my gosh, you said that they're a DEI hire. Well, if DEI is a good thing, why is it a bad thing if we discuss that? You can't have it both ways. So either it's happening or it's not. And if it's good, then it should be celebrated. I mean, am I close? Just trying to be logically consistent. All right, Michael Schellenberger is warning because we have weird stuff happening across the planet. Michael Schellenberger says Brazil is implementing a radical China-style censorship regime. This is a 5-alarm fire. We need strong action from President Trump and Secretary Rubio. It says important analysis from P. Figueiredo 8. People don't grasp the magnitude of what just happened. The world's second largest social media market has just implemented a censorship regime comparable only to China's. Several aspects of this decision are terrifying, but the two most dangerous are the following. First, platforms are now required to proactively remove content labeled as hate speech or anti-democratic, even though there is no legal definition of either term. In practice, anything critical of the Supreme Court or even President Lula is considered anti-democratic. Any statement can be framed as an attack on institutions. Without a clear standard, anyone of the more than 18,000 judges in Brazil can classify content this way. To avoid risk, platforms will resort to strict preemptive censorship. Second, if platforms receive an extrajudicial notice and fail to remove content such as defamation or slander, and a court later rules against it, they will be held jointly liable, meaning platforms now must function as internal courts, evaluate. Yeah, this sounds just like America under Biden. This sounds just like America during Trump. This is exactly what our social media has been. Yeah, we have a temporary respite from this with President Trump in office and Elon giving Twitter to the people. But this is exactly the last few years of madness we've lived through. Germany, they're going door to door arresting people for typing mean things online. You can burn and desecrate one flag, but you can't burn and desecrate another. Some flags are more equal than others. It's weird. So this means platforms function as internal courts evaluating the merit of every complaint. In practice, they'll adopt a low threshold and remove questionable content preemptively. Yep, that's exactly what Google, YouTube did to me, what Meta, Instagram, Facebook did to me. Yep. And by me, I mean the new American media. And by me, I mean you. You've had your choices restricted. Left-wing advocacy groups, already well organized, will exploit this system by issuing mass extrajudicial notices. The result is a para-state censorship regime, bypassing any form of popular or electoral accountability. Censorship is outsourced. It's brilliant. That's exactly, our independent fact checkers deemed your stuff to be fraudulent or hate speech or something. Okay, let me check something here. Activity. Look at that. Well, that worked. Look at that, Deb. Deb from San Diego. No, it's not San Diego. Look at that. It went through. But it's so weird. You can't put my at. So I guess I got to change up all the text since that doesn't work. I don't get why none of this stuff works for me. It's a reoccurring theme that obvious things should work, and they obviously don't. Thank you, by the way. Definitely appreciate that. But yes, that went through. That is working. Scrolling back, the last time I sent money through here was September 18th to repay for some of the expenditures going to Chicago for the Democrat convention. You know, I haven't seen Victor Dreamer Ultra. I haven't seen him around lately. So yeah, that's what happened. They outsourced their censorship to independent fact checkers air quote, independent. Because it was them. It was their NGOs that were the fact checkers, so they didn't want countervailing views to their lies. I mean, we've been living through such a nightmare with these social media companies. This article continues, and it wasn't even their original idea. Just last week, Alexandre de Moraes was speaking at Poynter Institute and IFCN event. There's no doubt this is being promoted as a global framework. It is the stepping stone for something identical in Europe and Canada, and that's it. Free speech in the West is done. After all, it is impossible to fully geofence terms of service. Resist button. So beware. Danger, danger. Reading this article, Carter Hughes saying the anti-ICE rioter who threw Molotov cocktails at a Los Angeles hotel housing 27 DHS agents has just been arrested and now faces 20 years in prison. Let me search. Let's check Grok. Los Angeles rioter arrested, Molotov, 28 DHS agents. Let's see if Grok can verify this story. Oh, 27 DHS agents. Eric Anthony well, here, let me put this up on the screen. June 21, that was 7 days ago. Eric Anthony Rodriguez arrested by LAPD for allegedly throwing a Molotov cocktail at a hotel near Los Angeles International Airport where 15 ICE and 12 CBP, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, law enforcement officers were staying during anti-ICE riots. DHS described Rodriguez as a serial criminal with a history of convictions, including, these people should not be allowed back out. You forfeit your free-range privileges if you're just causing mayhem everywhere you go. History of convictions like assault with deadly weapon, second-degree robbery, falsifying checks, theft, vandalism. DHS emphasized such attacks on federal officers will lead to prosecution to the fullest extent of the law. All right. Well, it looks like this story is accurate. I just wasn't familiar with Carter Hughes that much, and it didn't have any link or any explanation to the story, so I wanted to be sure. But why only 20 years? Why not life if they're a serial offender? That's sort of my question. Why would it be limited that way? Okay, this is scrolling fast. I was looking at another screen. Okay, here's Megyn Kelly.
That was Moms for Liberty, just expounding just a kernel of truth in what they were saying. And then they bastardized this kernel to make a larger point. Screw you, Scott Pelley. In a 6-3 ruling, the U.S. Supreme Court just said it is happening. It's absolutely happening. And parents have a right to say no. Here's Justice Alito. The storybooks here unmistakably convey a particular viewpoint about same-sex marriage and gender. And the board has specifically encouraged teachers to reinforce this viewpoint and to reprimand any children who disagree. That goes beyond mere exposure. We reject this chilling vision of power of the state to strip away the critical right of parents to guide the religious development of their children. It is happening. It's happening in schools beyond Maryland. The U.S. Supreme Court has recognized it and has now just issued a powerful ruling arming parents state to state, coast to coast, with the tools they need to shut it down when it comes to their child. You're woke.
Pushing this gender confusion on people. They were obsessed with this stuff when I was in college. And I'm sitting in the classroom going, why are you pushing this stuff? This doesn't make sense. I don't like this. This isn't. It was confusion. They were pushing confusion. And there are so many kids now who have been impacted and confused. They're impressionable. Everybody wants to get good grades from their teacher. So there's a bias to just want to go along with whatever's being said and to suspend your critical thinking skills. Okay, I'm better now. Megyn Kelly is very excited about this, and I think we all should be.
You want to let your kid go in there and learn about chopping off his penis when he's 12? More power to you, sister. I think it's abuse. I think it's sad for your child. You want that. I think it's sick for a teacher or a school district to offer it at all. But there's zero chance I'm letting my child sit there. And as everybody listening to this show knows, I have not just talked that talk. I've walked that walk. It's why we left our schools in New York, as I documented at the time. We left schools we had previously loved because they tried to indoctrinate our children on the issue of gender and race. And we had it. And now we finally have a Supreme Court decision saying we were right. Schools don't have the right to do this to our children. This ruling says religious grounds will give you the power you need to get your child out of it. That's not going to be a problem for most of our listeners.
I mean, I don't think you need to cite religious grounds. You need to just cite common sense grounds. It's just 2 + 2 doesn't equal 5. You cannot become something that you are not. No matter how much the hippopotamus wants to fly, it cannot fly. And if it can, with the help of whatever surgery or whatever hormone, it doesn't make it a bird. You can't change into something you're not. A giraffe is not a lion and vice versa. It's just different. And they've been pushing this stuff and damaging countless kids with unnecessary genital mutilation surgeries. And it's I read a comment that people are going to look back at this era the same way they did with like leeches and bloodletting and lobotomies. These Frankenstein unnecessary genital mutilation surgeries. No thanks. That's the end result of listening to a nonstop barrage of grooming about gender confusion. No thanks.
Most of us are religious people, not all of us, but most of us have a good faith religious belief that what is happening here is deeply wrong in the K-5 school districts and can use this, but it'll be expanded beyond this because parental rights are not limited to those who are faithful. It's been a great day at the U.S. Supreme Court. Great. That was Mom.
There you go. No more indoctrination.
Amy Coney Barrett's just kind of fed up with Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Yep. As we all are.
As a judge.
Yes, this was incredible. I think the legal term is a bench slap, but that is exactly
a bench slap. No, not a female dog, a bench slap.
What happened. So, the 3 liberal justices did dissent, but 2 of
and this is May Mailman, Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Policy Strategist on Amy Coney Barrett's evisceration of Ketanji Brown Jackson.
The justices, so Sotomayor and Kagan, basically gave legal reasons, saying, here is why I think judges have this legal authority. And then Justice Jackson wrote a dissent that was completely unhinged from any law and just said that she thinks that it's a good thing that judges basically follow Trump around and tell him what he's doing is wrong. And Amy Coney Barrett wrecked Justice Jackson and said, basically, you are acting unconstitutionally. What you want has no basis in the Constitution. You want a roving, king judge decide whatever you think is the law. And that's crazy.
Amy Coney Barrett's just kind of fed up with Ketanji Brown Jackson as a judge.
Yes, this was.
All right, and that's a redo. Yeah, is Ketanji even remotely qualified for this position, and can she be recalled? Be curious to know. All right, here's the Officer Tatum talking about this Brandon mayor in Chicago.
Look at
trying to kind of compare what mayors are up to right now and why you should consider fleeing blue cities and blue states.
what he said about Donald Trump.
Trying to hold people hostage and manipulating them to succumb to his will, that is how terrorists behave. We're not going to negotiate with terrorists. The President of the United States of America has an open invitation to the 5th floor of the greatest freaking city in the world, the city of Chicago. And I'm going to just be bold here for a second. There's a long history of black political leaders talking to people
please.
who may not see us as first class.
The way Donald Trump is operating is like a terrorist. So pretty much what you're saying is Donald Trump is acting like a terrorist. You're considered to him be a terrorist. That's why you won't negotiate with the terrorist. You're calling him a terrorist. This had the nerve to try to pull the race card and say, we do with political leaders that don't see us as equal or whatever the case may be. Hey, dummy, you got elected. And it wasn't all black people that voted for you because they can't get you in office if all of them voted for you and the white people voted against you. What are you saying, bruh? You literally are in office because of white people and you still complaining about being black and how you got a disadvantage. No, because you're an idiot, fool. They should go to hell and jail at the same time for saying something so stupid.
Go to hell and go to jail? Interesting line. Yeah, just the insinuation, just the name calling when you disagree with somebody's ideology, just to instantly jump to race and stuff. It's like people object to the policy of Sharia. They don't care what anybody worships. It's just, if the policy is to dominate society, take over and impose that will on everyone else, well, then that has to be opposed because that's a non-starter. That's just not compatible. It's just not compatible. Socialism, communism, Marxism, Leninism, Stalinism, letting all the dirtbags out of jail, leaving the borders wide open. These are not policies we can accept. These are unacceptable non-starter policies. And that Brandon Jackson, instantly going, there's a long history of people. No, we don't like your ideas. We don't care what you look like. We see you as an empty suit. We're not even looking at you. We're seeing the suit because you're an empty suit. You could be any color with a backward ideology. And we'd oppose it because it doesn't work. Getting really tired of the crazy people. Right, David? These people are just crazy and they need to go. Deb knows a few families took their kids out of school to homeschool. Yeah, I mean, you almost have to. Okay, Deb confirming. I got one message for $5 PayPal. Is that what you sent? I'm checking to see if you had a second message saying, okay, check now. I only see the one. If that's what you meant to send, there you go. But if there was a second one, I don't see that. Here's Tucker Carlson talking with Marjorie Taylor Greene. MTG dropping a bombshell about congressional members and who controls them.
Since I've become a member of Congress since 2021, we have voted on 22 resolutions for Israel. 22 of them. All kinds of resolutions.
We have 50 states, right? Why all these resolutions for one place that's not an American state?
Denouncing anti-Semitism, supporting Israel. We voted on 22 of those.
Anti-Semitism and criticism, those cannot be conflated. Those are very different issues. You're allowed to criticize everybody. Question with boldness even the existence of God, for if he exists, he'd surely rather prefer that of logic and reason over blindfolded faith. Question with boldness even the existence of God. So don't conflate anti-Semitism with asking questions, with criticizing policy. It's not just that we can do that or that we should do that. We must do that.
We never vote on resolutions proclaiming great things about America or defending certain Americans or defending Americans in general.
Oh, that's interesting. We never do that for ourselves. It's always for... I'd be curious how many other countries got special resolutions. Did other countries in that time frame also get 21 resolutions? That's a fair question. Maybe we could ask Grok.
But we have voted on 22 resolutions in the House defending Israel.
How many of you voted yes on?
I don't know my exact record. The last one
Good question.
I voted no on, and then the one before that I voted present because I just started getting sick of it.
Well, that's kind of it. I mean, I've always noticed this, certainly in the last...
Noticing.
I don't know how many years.
That's what they call it, noticing.
It's been a while where Republicans in the Congress are, always talking about Israel. I'm not against Israel. I've always liked Israel, so I don't haven't really noticed it. Okay, fine. Love it.
Since I've become a member of Congress since 2021,
Love any country, whatever. But it feels like something has changed. Like why? And clearly it has for you. What is that thing?
Well, I think here's the situation. It's coming to a point where it's so obvious all the time in everyone's language, the social media posts they put out, the statements that they make. They have to proclaim Israel. They have to proclaim their faith and loyalty in Israel and how they, Israel is our greatest ally. And it's a statement that has to be made over and over and over again, to the point it's becoming like, wait a minute, what about our own country? What about our own people? And we have so many problems here in America. And we talk about this all the time. $37 trillion in debt. Just like you and I were speaking before, our kids' generations. My kids are 22, 25, and 27. And our children's generation, they can't afford rent. They can't afford to buy a house. They can't afford insurance. They can't buy a new car. They can't find a good bike.
Love any country, whatever.
Paying job. They're living month to month, paycheck to paycheck, credit card bills stacked up. And they literally look to the future going, how am I ever going to realize the American dream? And it seems hopeless for them. But then in Congress, everyone is chasing and pursuing and proclaiming their loyalty to a foreign country. Paying job. They're living month to month, paycheck to paycheck.
So, I mean, that's what MTG is saying. Does anyone disagree with her? Here's Jack Posobiec talking about the Supreme Court.
President Trump just absolutely cleaned up at the Supreme Court, and that's what we're calling this, a clean sweep. A clean sweep of cases at the Supreme Court, and that's what we're going to be going through today on the program, whether it's universal injunctions, chipping away at birthright citizenship, Planned Parenthood, which happened earlier in the week. Also, this case regarding LGBTQ information in the classroom. Absolute clean sweep. And this is something where I know there are a lot of people, myself included, saying, look, we weren't sure how some of these judges were going to come down. We were looking at the oral arguments and a number of them, and we just weren't sure where it was going. But probably the biggest loser today, other than the left and the forces that seek to overthrow Western civilization, Ketanji Brown Jackson. And Ketanji Brown Jackson getting absolutely obliterated in the official record of the Supreme Court, which will stand for all time. All time, by the way. This is why you don't send auto pen hires to the Supreme Court. Don't do that. You don't want to send an auto pen hire to the Supreme Court, and that's who she is. Because there's a lot of questions, by the way. I certainly have questions about whether or not her commission itself was legal if the person who, quote unquote, signed the commission was a mental incompetent and it was signed by an auto pen. Because we know that Biden was incompetent, even going back all the way to 2020. So there's a lot of people who pointed out, how could Hunter Biden's pardon be legal? How could it be valid? How could so many of these pardons be valid? And then you have the one nominee that the Biden administration made to the Supreme Court, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Was she nominated by an auto pen? Was she hired by an auto pen? Because you even have Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Barrett, who's one of the nicest people. She's not some, flame-throwing, conservative up there. But even she said the argument that was made by Ketanji Brown Jackson in this case bears no resemblance to any of the legal arguments. It's not based on precedent. It's not based on any legal theory whatsoever. This is because Ketanji Brown Jackson actually has trouble. She claimed it was, boring legalese, and saying, this is mind-numbingly technical information. It's called legal work. That's what the Supreme Court does. And Ketanji Brown Jackson, if you don't like it, resign. President Trump just absolutely cleaned up.
Yeah. Supreme Court came in big yesterday. Exactly 1 year ago yesterday, here's a reminder from the Blaze.
Total ban. on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol
Trump
and
won the
more
election?
Asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Total ban.
Doesn't that feel a million years ago that Joe Biden was relevant? Feels like a million years ago. Success with attitudes here. Talking about all this colonization and flooding sovereign nations with different people. I'm not familiar with Jared Taylor. I've seen this clip before. He's speaking on immigration. They're saying the entire interview can be found on YouTube, called Uncomfortable, and was the last time JT was ever invited on any mainstream platforms for obvious reasons. It was a massacre. Yeah, this comment, if you move to another country, you assimilate. You don't attempt to change that country into what you just left. Yeah, I've said this, and it's pretty standard. Immigration without assimilation is invasion. That's it. If you want to go be a guest in someone else's country and kind of adapt to their customs and their norms, so be it. But if you're going to go in as an infiltrator to try to overthrow the nation, well, then that needs to be discussed in those obvious terms. Let's take a listen to this. Jared Taylor.
What you're saying is, somehow, whites were about to choke to death on their own homogeneity when people like yourself kindly arrived with diversity and saved us from ourselves. No, we built a wonderful country that your ancestors could not have been. That is why people like you come here.
Oh, doggone
and the more
it's
you
got
come,
music in the background. He says that's why people like you come in larger numbers. You will change the country that my ancestors built into something else. And it is completely normal for me to wish to oppose that. Mr. Taylor, I've taken enough of your time. But yeah, he's saying that she's saying that whites are about to choke on their homogeneity and just suffer because they suck and they can't build a society and can't put a culture together. Would have been better if I could have just played it in his words. But yeah, you assimilate into a country. If you're trying to overthrow it, you're an invader. Jack Posobiec posting that Ketanji Brown Jackson actually put the phrase full stop in her dissent. And for that to actually, quote, and for that to happen, quote, and for that to actually happen, courts must have the power to order everyone, including the executive, to follow the law. Full stop. And he said, is this real life? Is this person remotely qualified to be in this position? Donald Trump Jr., huge. Oh, hold on. Let's do Donald Trump at the bottom. Giant win in the United States Supreme Court. Even the birthright citizenship hoax has been indirectly hit hard. It had to do with the babies of slaves. Same year. Not the scamming of our immigration process. So this may now, birthright citizenship, be brought up for a separate ruling. Not the scamming of our immigration process. Congratulations to Attorney General Pam Bondi, Solicitor General John Sawyer, and the entire DOJ news conference at the White House. Donald Trump Jr. says huge. The Supreme Court finally but aggressively rules that random district judges don't have the power to run the country and are not more powerful than the duly elected president of the United States. Latinos with Trump posted this. Let's listen to the complaint or accusation here, and then listen to the rebuttal.
For all of those girls that use their Latina card, stop fucking using it because we're not buying it anymore. You are not one of us anymore. What fucking values do you have when you have no fucking mercy for other people, when you have no empathy for other people that came here?
Why don't you stop using your Latina card to justify and enable criminal organizations hurting the very same people that you claim to care about? Why are we acting like the illegal immigration issue is a victimless crime? Where is your empathy when it comes to the thousands of children that are getting sexually assaulted at our border by the very same people that are trafficking them? Latinos like to act like Democrats are going to fix all of our issues. That's why we have to vote Democrat. Where's your empathy for the 320,000
Thank
children
you.
that went missing under the Biden administration?
Where's the
and not
empathy for that?
anybody said a word. I didn't see AOC go out and fake a photo shoot to try and get attention to this issue because she cares more about her political party than she does the issues she tells you that she cares about. Where's that compassion that you were talking about? No one cares that these children are getting hurt so long as they can benefit in one way or another. Democrats are benefiting from that cheap labor so that they can have people go clean their houses and mow their lawns, as they love to tell you. Some people don't care as long as their family members can cross. And this is happening to children. At the very least, adults know what they're getting themselves into, but it still doesn't make it right. A lot of these adults are paying $10,000 to $12,000 to get trafficked over the southern border.
And then
When they
they
reach
owe
the
them
river, they'll
forever.
ask for even more money. When they can't pay, well, that's when we start finding bodies. Or sometimes when they reach the States, they hold them hostage until the family can pay even more money. And we've all heard of that happening. Where's your compassion for all of this? Why haven't we stopped it? Goal isn't to get rid of immigration. The goal is to reform immigration to make it a lot safer for both the immigrants and for the American people. Just yesterday, within 24 hours, the ICE department arrested 308 illegal immigrants that came here, all of which who had violent criminal records. Can we stop acting like supporting illegal immigration makes you a good person when enabling these criminal organizations that are responsible for this hurts so many people?
So for all of those girls that use their
So yeah, defend the girls. Yeah, it is definitely not compassionate to allow that type of stuff to happen. It's a really bad idea. Trump just won. Trump defeats the woke judges.
Trump just won a historic case in the Supreme Court, and it's more important than you may think. Officially, it was just a ruling on birthright citizenship, but it's deeper than that. At hand was the debate over universal injunctions, which is this arbitrary power that low-level courts are using to block everything that Trump is doing and set nationwide policy.
That has been their strategy the first couple months of this term.
For themselves. Think USAID, deportations, and literally hundreds of other examples. Well, in the majority opinion, Amy Coney Barrett of all people wrote that, quote, a universal injunction can be justified only as an exercise of equitable authority, yet Congress has granted federal courts no such power. In other words, random district judges in DC and San Francisco don't have the power to unilaterally block federal policy from the Trump administration. And she's correct, by the way. It's worth noting that this universal power is basically made up and has little historical precedent before the 21st century.
What's the statutory basis for a federal judge issuing an order that affects people other than the parties before the court?
I'm not aware of a statutory basis, Senator.
Only about 27 universal injunctions were issued in the 20th century. 86 of them were issued against President Trump in his first term. And so far in President Trump's second term, 30 universal injunctions. Universal injunction has become a weapon against the Trump administration, has it not?
Yes.
So the real threat to democracy was never Trump. It is unelected district judges, and I'm glad to see it was defeated today. Do you agree? Like and follow for more. Trump just won a
There you go. So I think we're getting a roundabout idea of what occurred with the Supreme Court. Things are written so kind of strangely that it takes a little while to sort out exactly what it means. This might have been something you'd expect to see on the Babylon Bee, but here it is. Clever immigrant invade. Let me try this again. See if I can read it properly this time. Clever immigrant evades Trump's deportation efforts by not raping, murdering, stealing, or entering the country illegally. I mean, there you go. That's a way to avoid problems, is don't sneak into a country. Nobody forced anybody to do that. Yes, Deb, the Supreme Court ruling was huge. Over time, we'll see how many areas it dovetails into. I mean, it's going to stop a lot. Hello, David Swenson. China. China, China, China. David, I'm not welcome to the program. I don't recall seeing you in chat. Can you, in a sentence, tell me what you were referencing with China? I don't know what that was in reference to. So when people leave comments, try to set them as standalone. So if I go back to a comment 5 minutes later, I know what we're talking about. Thank you, David. Welcome. Keep leaving your comments and your questions and your jokes, like everybody is encouraged to do. Milton Friedman discussing illegal immigration.
I have always been amused.
And it's so great to go back to videos from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. The stuff going on today has been going on for decades. You just need to go back far enough to find it.
By kind of a paradox. Suppose you go around and ask people. The United States, as you know, before 1914 had completely free immigration. Anybody could get on a boat and come to these shores, and if he landed on Ellis Island, he was an immigrant. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? You will find hardly a soul who will say it was a bad thing. Almost everybody will say it was a good thing. But then I suppose I say to the same people, but now what about today? Do you think we should have free immigration? Oh no, they'll say, we couldn't possibly have free immigration today. Why, that would flood us with immigrants from India and God knows where. We'd be driven down to a bare subsistence level. What's the difference? How can people be so inconsistent? Why is it that free immigration was a good thing before 1914 and free immigration is a bad thing today? Well, there's a sense in which that answer is right.
Good question.
There's a sense in which free immigration, in the same sense as we had it before 1914...
Why change anything? Should anything ever be changed? This was from 1978, it says here.
...is not possible today. Why not?
Why?
Because it is one thing to have free immigration to jobs. It is another thing to have free immigration to welfare.
Yep.
And you cannot have both. If you have a welfare state, if you have a state in which every resident is promised certain minimum level of income or a minimum level of subsistence, regardless of whether he works or not, produces it or not, well, then it really is an impossible thing. If you have free immigration in the way in which we had it before 1914, everybody benefited. The people who were here benefited. The people who came benefited. Because nobody would come unless he or his family thought he would do better here than he would elsewhere.
Yep.
And the new immigrants.
I was just watching a video called a movie called The Hammer. Adam Carolla made a movie called The Hammer, released it in 2009, I think. I went and saw it in the theater. Been a Carolla fan for a while. And he's hanging out with his construction buddy. And I forget, Guatemala or Honduras or Venezuela. I forget what country it was. But they're all sitting around hanging out and having a beer or two. And they're all just like, yeah, Venezuela or Nicaragua. Maybe it was Nicaragua. And they're like, yeah, to Nicaragua. Yeah, cheers. Nicaragua. And it's like, yeah. You seem to have a strange affinity for that place that you risked everything to flee from. Like, why are you like praising this place that you left because you said it was so terrible? Why are you trying to bring that here? Like, what's so good about that place that you thought was so bad you had to flee and move here? You know, so you can even see back then Adam Carolla didn't have much patience for the conversations that were incongruous. And that's sort of the vibe that Milton Friedman's giving off here in this speech.
Provided additional resources, provided additional possibilities for the people already here, so everybody can mutually benefit. But on the other hand, if you come under circumstances where each person is entitled to a pro rata share of the pot, to take the extreme example, or even to a low level of the pot, then the effect of that situation is that free immigration would mean a reduction of everybody to the same uniform level. Of course, I'm exaggerating. It wouldn't go quite that far, but it would go in that direction. And it is that perception that leads people to adopt what at first seem like inconsistent values. I have always been amused by a kind of a paradox. Suppose you go around and ask people. The United States, as you know, before 1914 had completely free immigration.
Okay, was this the beginning of the video again? I think this might have looped back around. But yeah, in the comments here, it says, get rid of the welfare state and free immigration will work. Yeah, and by the way, you still... Actually, that'll be the comment. That being said, America and every country, for that matter, simply must screen and filter out toxic criminals from the process at the very beginning. Only the pre-qualified should enter. We have enough problems of our own and certainly don't need to import a single known criminal alien into our communities. That's how I feel. Even if you removed the incentive, it would still be bad. Okay, Officer Tatum says, happy 1-year anniversary to the day that took Joe Biden out of the presidential race.
Both, however, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with
what?
The.
Oh, there's music in the background. This is a really good video.
The COVID, excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
What is he saying?
Look
what?
If we finally beat Medicare,
we finally beat Medicare. Remember that one?
We're finally providing housing for Black Americans. The impact on the choice, the idea that they're going to. I'm proposing that everybody they pay.
Look at the look on Trump's face. He's squinty eyes, just kind of like, where are we going with this?
The millionaires pay 1%. 1%. So no one after I've not raised the cost of Social Security for anybody. I got my handicap when I was vice president down to a 6.
Yeah. Okay. Now he's saying he could beat him in a round of golf.
And wants to get away.
He's got a 6 handicap in golf. Sure you do.
Get rid of the ability of Medicare.
Right. Get rid of
the ability for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example,
you should fix the tax system, Bud.
We have 1,000 trillionaires in America.
1,000. What is it?
I mean, billionaires in America.
1,000 trillionaires of being 1,000 billionaires.
No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed.
Right.
And it stopped. And
I mean, imagine being Trump having to maintain decorum and make sense of this.
Continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
What? So that's a President Trump ad. So hopefully the music was cleared and it's not going to get hung up in copyright. Welcome, Kenneth, who woke up from his cat nap with his cat. Yeah, my buddy Bean, man. And even Nimbus was laying on me this morning. I got up early, though. Was working out in the shop, getting some stuff done, listing some stuff. I do some reselling. It's one of my favorite pastimes, hobbies. It's a job, but I like it. Find stuff at garage sales and thrift shops and estate sales, and then list it online, sell it, ship it. Kablamo. I recently just had one package that for the first time ever I dropped it off, but they did not scan it in and it's just missing. Still fighting for a refund. Not fun. So now I got to wait in line and have people scan it. But yeah, I got up super early today. But yeah, my cats, because I like to stretch out on the stretch my back out sometimes because I'm so compressed sitting in this chair, sitting in this office, working in front of this laptop, and it's definitely necessary to just kind of decompress and stretch back out. And so I'll go in there, and if my cat notices I walked in there, he'll jump up, lay down with me, and it's like a natural aphrodisiac. And with the pen and pad, I compose this rhyme to hit you, want to get you equipped for the summertime. That's DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. But yeah, he zonks me out. He's not like a natural aphrodisiac. He's like a natural, what's it for an insomniac? A natural sleep aid. What's a name for sleep aid? What's a technical term? Let me ask Grok. Technical term for sleep aid. Hypnotic or soporific? Hypnotic or soporific? No, not benzodiazepines or melatonin receptor agonists. Anyway. Yeah, this whole Biden thing, I mean, America, what madness. Yeah, Wall Street Post, Wall Street economist who ripped Trump openly. Wall Street economist who ripped Trump admits, I'm like getting to that word admits so fast. Wall Street economist who ripped Trump admits the president may have outsmarted all of us on tariffs. Torsten Slok, chief economist, investment at Apollo Global Management. There's uncertainty on the trade policy. But yeah, we're taking in massive amounts allegedly from the tariffs. And Canada's messing around, so they're about to find out, right?
I feel like I'm back in my top 40 radio days because the hits just keep on coming. President Trump now announcing the United States is terminating all trade discussions with Canada effective immediately. He wrote on Truth Social, quote, "We have just been informed that Canada, a very difficult country to trade with, has just announced that they are putting a digital services tax on our American technology companies, which is a direct and blatant attack on our country. Based on this egregious tax, we are hereby terminating all discussions on trade with Canada effective immediately. We will let Canada know the tariff that they will be paying to do business with the United States of America within the next 7-day period." Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald Trump, President of the United States, 1600.
Thank you for your attention to this matter. I love how he signs that off. The Dow Jones at 43.7. Let's see what it is today. Where's the page? Dow Jones today. 43.8. What's the year maximum? Almost at a year high. I don't show you this every day. Deb is surprised Nimbus doesn't walk on my back like an Asian princess. Well, he's a Russian blue, so I guess it would be like a Russian princess. No, he'll walk on my back a little bit, but yeah, he prefers laying in the lap or laying on the chest. That's his move. Yeah, Dow Jones at 43.8. Looking at the 5-year averages, I mean, right about the top that we've had. Stocks are doing well right now. Remember, just like last time before China unleashed their virus on the world in their coordinated biological terror attack. Remember that?
Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. Well, I feel like.
And the hits keep a-coming. Clay Travis saying Mamdani will be a disaster for NYC.
A Democrat.
Is he even eligible?
That primary was won by Mamdani, 33-year-old far left-wing socialist. He believes that you should have no rent price increase. He thinks that that capitalism is a bad word and that capitalism itself is theft. He believes that the police should be replaced by social workers. He thinks that if he had the ability to do it, he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he came into New York City. 13% of New York City voters are Jewish. I think Mamdani is a disaster for New York City, but I think he actually represents where the Democrat Party is headed, which is in a direction that rejects capitalism and almost completely embraces socialism. And I think New York City is in a tough place. What needs to happen now is there needs to be a coalition that focuses 100% on one opposition candidate to Mamdani. I think that's unlikely to happen. I think instead you're going to see the anti-Mamdani vote spread across multiple constituencies. Andrew Cuomo may be working for Mamdani now, I don't know, against Eric Adams, who is running as an independent, the current mayor of New York City. I think it's going to be hard to beat Mamdani, who just got 43% of the Democrat vote, if you have a Republican in Curtis Sliwa, if you have an independent in Eric Adams, and if you have an independent in Andrew Cuomo. I don't think there's any way to beat Mamdani with 3 opposition candidates running against Mamdani.
Trump or the anti-Trump? Can't have too many options.
A Democrat primary was won by Mamdani.
And I think that's true. The Big Apple will soon become the rotten apple, says the comments. What's this one here?
Anybody that supports ICE probably would have turned over Anne Frank, too. You guys supported vaccine passports. You fucking cheered when police shut down church services during COVID. You encouraged your neighbors to snitch on people. You guys legit created a fucking hotline to call and snitch on people if they had more than fucking 5 people over for Easter. You suggested that anybody who supports Trump should go to a re-education camp. You backed mask mandates for toddlers. You fucking doxed people for making political donations. You supported FBI surveillance of parents. You applauded arrests of political opponents. You guys are the real schmazzies. And you're fucking domestic terrorists to boot. You guys also made hate speech tip lines to report people who say shit that you don't like. You guys wanted to ban books about American history. We just wanted to ban books that had sexual content for children. And you want to know what? I wouldn't have turned Anne Frank over because she was a legal citizen. Anybody that supports ICE probably would have turned over Anne Frank, too. You guys supported vaccine passports. You fucking...
Yeah, I like Instagram, but man, it's almost seamless how the end of a clip begins the beginning. It just loops back around. I'm like, wait, that was the very beginning, right? That guy makes a lot of good points. It's like, hold on. Who are the ones that are acting totalitarian? Well, it's y'all. Don't project your problems outward. You point your finger out, you got 3 pointing back at yourself. Todd Spears says, liberal jackass Judge James Boasberg is pissed right now. He can no longer continue to LARP as the President of the United States. Live action role play. LARPing, pretending to be president. Good. Vani Hari says she's the food babe. You might have heard of her. She says, cheering on Louisiana this morning. New bill signed by Governor Landry requires restaurants to warn customers that they use seed oils. Takes artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners, BHT, BHA out of school food. It requires QR code warnings on products with 44 processed food chemicals. The winning doesn't stop. Hashtag Food Babe Army and hashtag Maha. Bravo. Here's a conservative MP taking a stand against the United Kingdom's developing blasphemy law and 2-tier policing. Danger, danger. This is what Schellenberger was saying in Brazil. This is a global mind virus, and it has to be resisted while we still can. If they put this grid in and there's wrong think and just you start getting disappeared, if you have opinions or if you start resisting what is they're trying to impose, well, that's not going to work. The time is now to speak up, speak out, and be forceful in our beliefs and convictions.
I do not believe that Muhammad was a prophet sent by God. I do not accept the instructions he said he received from the Archangel Gabriel. I do not accept that the sunnah, or body of Islamic laws, has any relevance to me.
We all have that right. America can be a Christian nation founded on Judeo-Christian principles. Well, founded on Christian principles. But in the society, you can practice the other things. But in Sharia law, you have to forcibly be converted into theirs. That's not compatible. It's oil and water. It does not mix together. That is an ideology of political domination that's antithetical to our Bill of Rights.
I respect the religious beliefs of others, but I do not mind if Muhammad is satirized, criticized, or mocked.
Yep. If you satirize, criticize, or mock, be it a Jewish person or a Jewish policy, and you go, that's anti-Semitic, you're allowed to criticize and mock whatever you want. There's no special people that have a magic force field around them. You can't be criticized. You can't. Oh, I've talked about Gold Star parents being put up as props at like the DNC. I'm sure the Republicans have done it too, but I specifically remember it at the DNC. And then when you criticize their policies and the things they're saying, they're like, how dare you mock? How dare you criticize a Gold Star father? It's like, did you hear me say something that was derogatory about their child perishing in an unnecessary conflict? No. That person said something political that I adamantly oppose, as I find it to be abhorrent, which I'm allowed to criticize anybody. And that's what this guy is saying. He's like, yeah, you should be allowed to mock, criticize Muhammad, because that's your thing, not mine.
I'm not a Muslim, and I choose not to live by the moral codes set out by Islam.
I'm not a Muslim, and I don't choose to live by the moral code set out by Islam. It's like, sort of like Dave Chappelle saying, you know, the alphabet people, yeah, whatever. I mean, who am I to, like, what am I going to, you do your thing, but to what degree are you requiring my participation? You do you, but that stops when you start compelling me. You must call me Linda. No, I must not. You must do this or that according to my book. That's your book. I never agreed to these terms. There has to be a strong barrier against this invasion of ideology. An ideology whose goal is to dominate and conquer. It's world domination.
I'm a Christian, and I should make clear that I don't think anybody should be prosecuted for satirizing, criticizing, or mocking Jesus either.
Satirizing, criticizing, or mocking Jesus should not be criminal, and it shouldn't be criminal to do it with Muhammad. It shouldn't be criminal to do it anywhere. Nobody gets their special group. Oh, you criticized me. It's anti-Semitic. Oh, you criticized me. It's Islamophobic. Yeah, Jesus Christ gets mocked daily. Why is it okay for one but not the other? I read a story about, there's some teens that vandalized an intersection that was painted rainbow. Or they took down a flag or ripped a flag or set a flag on fire. It's like, yeah, the liberals do this to the American flag every day. It's like their main thing. Oh, yeah, we want to desecrate the flag. That's protected. Oh, but if you touch this other flag, it's a hate crime. What are you talking about? Either all flags are game for desecration or none are. Where's the ideological consistency? Yeah, Dave's bit on the alphabet people is pretty fantastic. A mask mandate is what Lindsey Graham was getting into at the hotel over there in Ukraine. Allegedly. Spending $600,000.
England and Wales abolished blasphemy laws in 2008, and
England and Wales banished blasphemy laws in 2008, and Scotland
abolished them in 2021. But even then, those laws...
Oh, we got the swelling music in the background. Will we get flagged for music playing?
...had not been used for decades.
Those laws had not been used for decades. The last blasphemy trial took place in 1977, and the state hasn't brought a public prosecution for blasphemy in more than a century. But now blasphemy laws are back. I've been advised not to refer to too high-profile cases of people being arrested, charged, and prosecuted for causing harassment, alarm, or distress to Muslims, or even nonsensically to Islam itself. What? So while I still keep my speech to the conceptual, I invite the House to recall that there are people and examples of what I raise in the criminal justice system right now. The issue is the way Sections 4 and 5 of the Public Order Act of 1986 are being used far beyond the intent of Parliament to police what we can and cannot say about Islam. Agree button. So, regarding what that guy had to say, rather what I said for him, do you agree or disagree? I'm sorry, Deb, you feel like an Asian guy trapped in a black guy's body? That's how I feel inside? That just broke my brain. Thanks for that. All right, Newt Gingrich. Hang on, is this scrolling? Let me go back. Newt Gingrich says the Ayatollah does not seem to have gotten the message. Washington Post reports that he sent out a video asserting the United States joined the war because Israel would have been completely destroyed if it did not, he said. But it did not gain anything, he said, adding that Iran gave America a severe slap. His view is they survived and therefore they won. Bad sign for negotiations. And President Trump, I believe he was thinking about lifting sanctions, but he's not going to as long as that post is out there. They have to admit that they got whooped in the war. Wall Street Citizen here. This is an update on the trans book case, restoring parents' rights to decide their child's education and to steer clear of gender dysphoria peddling groomers.
Down today, the trans books case, which restores parents' rights to decide their child's education. Seems like a basic idea, but it took the Supreme Court to set the record straight, and we thank them for that. And now that ruling allows parents to opt out of dangerous trans ideology and make the decisions for their children that they believe is correct. And so we thank the Supreme Court for that. There's another great decision that came down today.
There you go. So a super big day, an incredible summer for President Trump. Golden age alert. Stocks have soared to record highs as inflation stays cool. Trump forges Middle East peace and tax deal gains steam. Breitbart reporting. Hey, so what's going on with CBDC, central bank digital currency, and why is it relevant? This guy's asked, and he gives a shockingly blunt answer.
What's this CBDC for? Why? What problem is it going to solve?
Look, what's it for? It's to keep track with the reality of how we'll purchase and save and do our work with our goods. This is about being a modern economy that recognises how our citizens, want to do business, but that it throws up a number of challenges that you'd want to overcome before you decided to proceed.
What's this CBDC?
Good grief, that was a twisted answer. It's to keep track. Citizens, that was my comment. Deb saying the reason I love Chappelle so much is because he makes his point. He makes you laugh with intelligence and heart. Yep. Oh, the Asian guy line is from Chappelle, Sticks and Stones. Okay, I saw it when it came out. I haven't watched it in 4 years, or it was about 4 years old, right? Pandemic, 2020 maybe, 21. Yeah, I wonder if I have a picture with Chappelle. Met him once and stood next to him in a separate time. Yeah, they want to keep track of you. That's why cash is king. This report here from Truth Politica, U.S. Extended Continental Shelf Project. So they're saying, drill, baby, drill. All that oil and gas just off the Gulf Coast. The untapped potential here is massive. This is what Trump means when he says he wants to unleash American energy. This is why Trump is trying to cut red tape for the oil and gas industry. He wants them to get their hands on our massive oil reserves so we, the American people, can use it. The Bureau of Ocean Energy Management announced the publication of a proposed notice of sale, PNOS, for an oil and gas lease sale in the Gulf of America. As directed by Secretary of the Interior and outlined in the PNOS, lease sale 262 will offer approximately 15,000 unleased blocks located 3 to 231 miles offshore across the Gulf's western, central, and eastern planning areas, covering roughly 80 million acres. These blocks are situated in water depths ranging from 9 feet to more than 11,000 feet. This sale is the first of 3 planned lease sales in the Gulf of America under the 24 to 29 Outer Continental Shelf Oil and Gas Leasing Program. That's a mouthful. BOEM is also in the process of developing a new national Outer Continental Shelf Oil and Gas Leasing Program that will include additional leasing opportunities. Energy independence is a cornerstone of U.S. economic strength, national security, and global stability, boosting American energy dominance and reducing reliance on unstable foreign producers. By continuing to expand offshore capabilities, the United States ensures affordable energy for consumers, strengthens domestic energy industry, and reinforces its role as an energy superpower. So there you go. Here's the U.S.-Mexico maritime boundary border. I think you can see that fairly well. I'll full screen it there. Actually, I think it's bigger if I condense it. So yeah, through Florida all the way across to Texas. This is all of our area. The Gulf of America. Go to town. Drill, baby, drill. All right, I will rewatch Chappelle, Sticks and Stones. I got my performance scheduled for July, so I have one scheduled performance at the comedy club, and then I can continue to go up with the lucky bucket pulls. But yeah, I keep thinking I want to rewrite. I either want to do my set and keep it under 4 minutes, or just write a new set because it's hard to get into 4 minutes. I haven't been able to go that succinctly yet. But okay, duly noted. I should watch it. Kenneth saying it was the story of Hansel and Gretel, not joined by their friend Regretel. Pete and Repeat were sitting on a fence. Pete fell off. Who was left? Repeat. Pete and Repeat were sitting on a fence. Who was left? Repeat. Pete and Repeat were sitting on a fence. Pete fell off. Who fell? You know. Regretel. Benny Johnson doing Man in the Street here. I believe this is a New York cop.
There was a primary in New York. The socialist won. His name's Zoran Mandami.
That retarded guy. Oh, man, this guy's mentally disturbed. It's terrible. Whoever voted for him is heavily medicated. Because, come on, man. We're trying to get things done right.
He has a famous tweet up that says, the New York City Police Department, we know that they hate gays and queer people and trans people.
Because he's gay. That's why. He doesn't want nobody to know that he's gay, so he's being quiet about it. A lot of people like to be quiet about their gayness. But this guy's probably the biggest gay lord in the 5 boroughs of the New York City area. Gay!
He said he wants to defund the police. You down with that?
No, man. I got 32 years on the job.
Thank you for your service.
You know, people like this.
Called him the biggest gay lord in the 5 boroughs. What?
This guy, sometimes we just got to bounce him off our chest and hope for the best, man. Because the people that probably voted for him were afraid. But that's the only way I see it.
So he says he wants to defund the police. Would that be a bad thing for the city of New York?
It would be bad, but I don't think that's going to happen because we're too strong. You know, he won by luck. But that's the way it works, man. We're going to stay here forever, brother. NYPD forever.
Not going to top that. There was a primary in New York.
No, it's going to be hard to top that. Deb saying, I'd like to see a clip of your comedy. Yeah, well, I haven't released any yet. I probably showed Kenneth. I'm still working on it. It's just like it's not done yet. So, like, I don't feel like I have anything that's like I could play a song that I've recorded because I feel like the song is written, it's completed, recorded, produced, engineered, and released. Comedy by its nature, it's like it's an evolution of the set. You know, I had a really good performance with the set I got some great feedback. And then, then I did the same set, roughly the same exact set, and got very different crowd reaction. Kind of like, wow, was it me that was different? Was it the crowd that was different? You don't want to get caught up in, I had a great crowd tonight, or, that crowd was terrible out there. It's like, well, it's up to you to get the crowd on your side. That's what it's about. I'm new at this, but I know I don't want to, but it is tough to understand. Why did one set do so well in front of roughly the same number of people and did differently, very differently in front of a different group? So, it is a work in progress. Kenneth does help as well. Deb, I'm a very tough comedy critic, so the fact that you make me laugh so hard, Brian, is high praise. Yes. Yeah, I was actually looking at a pros and cons, or like I don't know. I was looking at how someone was describing me, and there were like multiple references to like funny, he makes me laugh, this, that, the other. I'm like, yes, that's why I'm trying stand-up. That's why I'm do or do not. There is no try. I did just binge all 3 Star Wars, by the way, for what it's worth. Yeah, lots of improvisation, lots of impressions. I haven't done Obama on stage, but I should. Or George W. Bush or Clinton. I do a version of all of them. I'd probably want to refresh it, but mainly I've done Joe Biden, Elon, Trump, Glitch McConnell, Bobby Kennedy. I don't know. It's good. Improve is part of improv. Yes. You can't spell improve without improv. Comedy you make. Oh, here you go. Senator Kennedy, always good for a soundbite.
In 100+ days, President Trump has secured the border. Now we're trying to figure out what criminals, what drug dealers, what human traffickers President Biden and my Democratic friends who believe in open borders let into our country, and we're trying to get them out. Now that takes more money. That's why we're going to pass this reconciliation bill. But I consider it one of the president's biggest accomplishments.
There you go. Agree or disagree? All right, here you go. Anna Paulina Luna posting this. This is Ron DeSantis showing Steve. Who is this? Steve, not Ducey. Is that his name? From Fox. Alligator Alcatraz. It's opening Tuesday.
No problem. But all the stuff that goes into intake and processing of illegals, you're seeing this put up. This is all 24 hours. 24 hours from now, you're going to see even more. And by Tuesday, this will be able to have intake of illegals.
And you've thought of everything. Okay, so there are 4 gigantic tents. Let's come on over here, Governor. And people are thinking, okay, you're in the middle of the Everglades. It's hot. That would explain why you've got this bank of air conditioners here.
Yeah, so I mean, this is going to be, illegals will come in, they'll be processed, there'll be places for them to be housed, you'll have an ability for food, you'll have an ability for them to consult legal rights if they have that, because there is a process that's involved with this. So this is really everything. This is going to be a self-contained little area. And then, of course, you also have stuff for the staff that work here. So we've got laundry facilities, we've got showers, we've got, obviously, there you see the shower and bath facilities.
Yep, right there.
Yep.
Where do you go to get a bunch of bathrooms like that?
Well, so this is being done by the Division of Emergency Management. So when we have a hurricane,
this is what you're supposed to be using FEMA funds for, not to facilitate illegal alien invaders to stay in 5-star hotels at our expense. It's to process them and send them back to where they came from. Alligator Alcatraz. That sounds like a good band name too. No, and I get that your mundane comment the other day wasn't in reference to me. It was the story itself. Yes. Well, I even say the mundane. I'm going to get to the mundane, and I'll cover the sports for a little bit, and you guys will yawn. And all right, wake me up when your sports stuff is done. No, I get that. I think I'm the one that says that. Adam! All right, I'll leave it up to the crowd. Do you agree or disagree with Adam? The S is silent. It's Zabo. Zabo or Zabo? Like Chris Sabo on the Reds, right? Do you agree or disagree with Adam when he says Kamala Harris for life? Agree or disagree? Oh, not that one. Look, I'll agree with Adam here. Kamala Harris for life. Life in prison for treason. Border Czar Harris for opening the border. Yes. Kamala Harris for life in prison. I think you just forgot those last two words there, Adam. Welcome. Mundane Cook. Met that guy too. Met that dude. It wasn't the night that I met Rogan, but it was at the place where I met Rogan. The comedy store? I don't know. For some reason, I blur together the comedy clubs in Los Angeles. I sort of miss Los Angeles, but I'm happy to be gone. I actually am happy to be gone. They said, sir, do you want Kamala? Kamala, Kamala, Kamala on ice. They said California's kind of weird. First they're complaining about wildfires, and then there's too much ice. Maybe that's global chaos, global warming, they call it. It's a hoax, a green new scam. Kamala, Kamala.
We would actually have people stage here for hurricane response normally, anyways, but we have it when we have all the linemen come in to do the power.
Sure. No, he doesn't mean the linemen like Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller on the Cleveland Browns. He means the linemen who are running power to the Everglades.
We have to set up little areas for them. And so
I like DeSantis doing his Florida thing, minus the speech restriction laws that are just specially designed to say that any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. Like, no, we're allowed to criticize everybody. So if you take that issue out, and if you take Ron DeSantis not circling the wagon to protect President Trump from all that lawfare when he tried to run against him in the primaries, I generally like Ron DeSantis. Since he stabbed President Trump in the back, trying to run against him and let him get devoured by the deep state, I lost a lot of respect for Ron DeSantis. Little Ronnie D, as I call him. I saw Jay Leno at the last half in San Jose before he was really big. He did the best Elvis. He did the best Elvis. Normally my Leno is better. I gotta work on my Leno a little bit, but I can do it.
So you have all this type of stuff. So this is not our first rodeo. The detainee, illegal alien missions, a little bit different, and the deportations, but logistics, we know how to do that.
Right, and
by the way, the Democrat Party should be billed for all these expenses.
For people thinking, okay, they're going to put the migrants on this hot asphalt, it looks like you're building a subfloor, and in fact, some guys putting down the plywood.
Yeah, no, look, this will be, I mean, there's not going to be anything that they're hurting for anything. There'll be AC. There'll be things that everybody needs. There's medical here. So it's being done right. It's being done by the book.
Well, when you think of the imagery of Alcatraz is surrounded by a bay. Here in the Everglades, you're actually surrounded by gators and pythons.
So this is as secure as it gets. I mean, if a criminal alien were to escape from here somehow, and I don't think they will, you've got nowhere to go. I mean, what are you going to do? Trudge through the swamp and dodge alligators on the way back to 50, 60 miles just to get to civilization? Not going to happen. So not only that is it secure, it also takes this deportation mission out of the hair of our local and state law enforcement. This has no impact on Florida residents because some of that stuff can have an impact on them if it's in more populated areas. And so logistically, this really answers the call. You don't
is he wearing a bulletproof vest?
You need is a little bus to move them, about 2,000.
He looks like a baseball umpire. Either he's put on weight or he looks pretty boxy, like maybe he's wearing a bulletproof vest. Or Steve is this Steve Ducey? Is this guy's name? He looks very skinny compared, but DeSantis looks like a umpire. Looks like he's wearing big padding underneath there, maybe
1,000 feet that way,
or he's just put on weight. I don't know.
Get on a plane and they're gone.
Well, listen, the DHS must love this because they're hurting for facilities, and here you are helping the federal government out.
Yeah, well, I said at the very beginning when President Trump took office, you have to have state and locals on board. You got to be on the team if you want to get the deportation mission done. We're done that better than anybody, but I hope other states will follow suit. No problem.
There you go. Adam saying, I'm still looking for all this inflation we were promised. Also, gas is like $2.60 down the road. Really confused. Exactly. If little Ronnie D worshipped Beelzebub, he would be de Satan. If he was a communist like that Zorro guy in New York, he'd be de Santa, giving things away. All right, and that's what I had to share with you on our Instagram feed. Let's scroll through X and see if we're missing anything. Ukraine's SBU reports it successfully hit the Russian-occupied Kirovsky Air Base in Crimea tonight, according to OSINT Technical, destroying multiple Russian helicopters, including an Mi-8, an Mi-26, Mi-28, as well as a Panzer SAM system guarding the airfield. Firm's data shows the airfield burning. Breaking huge crowd. Alliance, DFLA. The British have had enough, and the government must act to protect our children. Says, God save Great Britain. Dr. Helen Ingram says there's a protest march happening in London right now against grooming gangs, and there's a counter protest. A counter protest? Imagine being on the pro-grooming gangs protest. British breaking is happening. Thousands of British patriots just conquered London to oppose Pakistani rape gangs. With every minute passing, more people join the march. Keir Starmer's days are numbered. Are these paid protesters or actual protesters? Let's listen to the president here talking about sanctuary city funding.
Thanks to this decision, we can now promptly file to proceed with numerous policies that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis. And some of the cases we're talking about would be ending birthright citizenship, which now comes to the fore. That was meant for the babies of slaves. It wasn't meant for people trying to scam the system and come into the country on a vacation. This was, in fact, it was the same date, the exact same date, the end of the Civil War. It was meant for the babies of slaves, and it's so clean and so obvious. But this lets us go there and finally win that case, because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship, and it wasn't meant for that reason.
And there is just a horrific birth tourism industry happening in the country. I've gained a lot of unique insight, especially in Los Angeles, watching this happen and learning about people flying in. United Arab Emirates, Dubai, Saudi Arabia, pick your Kuwait, pick your country. Hang out, go shopping on Rodeo Drive for a couple days until a child's popped out. Immediately hop on a private flight and get out of there with a child who could now run for president. Being raised in a different country with different values, with different shared experiences. That's not the intent of the founding fathers. I will strongly attest. It is my strong opinion that was not the intent of the founding fathers by any stretch.
It was meant for the babies of slaves. So thanks to this decision, we can now properly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities of the American people.
All right. So the analysis here from Brian. Brian Cates says ending sanctuary city funding. Key step in getting. Oh, let me change the screen. You watched the whole speech this morning. Good stuff. Good, good. Ending sanctuary city funding, says Brian Cates. Key step in getting the sanctuary city, state mayors, and governors to turn on all the illegals that they imported and are trying to hang on to. After Trump cuts them off, they're going to start stuffing the illegals in buses headed back to the border to get their sweet, sweet federal dollars turned back on. We'll see. This merch here shared this. Says this Muslim woman says the Muslim Brotherhood has been working on infiltrating American society and American politics for the last 40 years. Let's take a listen.
As a Muslim brother,
in light of what just happened in the Democrat primary in New York City,
Brotherhood has been working on infiltrating the American society and American politics for too long, at least for 40 years now, since they started working on their 100-year plan to sabotage America from within, which is officially known as an explanatory memorandum.
Sabotage.
For the Muslim Brotherhood activities in North America. It depends very much on patience and gradualism. Patience meaning that they wait for the right moment to jump in, to infiltrate, to enter in certain events, like for example what they did on 9/11, like the BDS campaign between 2007 and 2017, and now the aftermath of October 7th. So this is how they have been playing this game for so long, and unfortunately 40 years after they have written this explanatory memorandum, it looks like they are doing a good job so far.
What? Liberals, you still have stick in your brain? I don't know what that means. Maybe that's lost in translation. What is this? Inevitable West here says Polish patriots are now patrolling the border after discovering that Germany's plans are to dump thousands of illegal alien invaders into their country. Polish are not playing around. So McDonald's sign up there. Interesting. President Trump just requested a special prosecutor. For what reason? Will this play? It's not letting me play. Weird. The quote says, that election was rigged and stolen, and we can't allow that to happen again. We have to find out what happened in 2020. So a special prosecutor, according to this post, but it's not playing, from Dom Luker, breaker of narratives, says a special prosecutor will investigate the 2020 election, resulting in multiple arrests. This will not play, so I can't confirm that that's actually what's happening here. Why won't it play? Oh, well. Jesse Waters says that Trump says the leaks didn't come from the Pentagon, it came from the Democrats. So now the Justice Department has opened up an investigation, and they say no one is immune from charges. Bring it. Hey, here's the face you make when your Trump derangement syndrome has festered so long and untreated that you leaked information about a secret military operation and the president is calling for prosecution. Maybe. This lady's kind of upset with what's happening in Los Angeles.
Oh, well, the state of California has more fuckeries that's going to happen. All right. LA County wants to pay rent, okay, using our taxpayers' money to go pay rent for illegals who can't go to work. Mind you, they weren't supposed to fucking be in the United States to work in the first place. Now you want to go fucking help them pay their rent? Like, excuse you? What happened to the landlords who have to pay their goddamn mortgage? How about we prioritize those landlords and give those housing units to people who deserve them? Like veterans, like the homeless people that are out there. There's more than enough. And so we want to prioritize these illegals who weren't supposed to be here to work in the first place, who works and send their money to their families to build their luxury home, who's going to retire in their fucking country anyways. So why are we wanting to pay their rent using our taxpayers' money? But let's listen.
I've never understood, for the life of me, it's never made sense. Why are we doing this?
Today.
Continue, the LA Tenants Union is calling for an eviction moratorium. They face
An eviction moratorium, LA Tenants Union, calling for free rent for illegals. This is probably the main reason why I sold my place in Los Angeles, because they were doing this stuff that was making it almost impossible to kick people out if they weren't paying the bills. I couldn't do business with the state of California anymore, so I fled.
of immigrants will be unable to pay their bills come July 1st because avoiding detainment is taking priority over going to work.
This is pretty quiet.
This militarization of our community, this occupation of our community, this terrorizing of our community.
Anyway, tenants union. What's a tenants union? A rent moratorium? Yeah, we have bills to pay. Sorry, it's too quiet. I can't do it, but Wall Street Apes put that out. Check it out. Matt Gaetz here details how Speaker Thune and Senate GOP are hiding behind a parliamentarian that nobody voted for. So let's try to understand what's going on with the person blocking provisions of the big, beautiful bill.
All right, so we've won the 12-day war. We've also won the war against,
I think it turned into a 13-day war,
regime change. And now the war is about the big, beautiful bill. Where do we stand?
Well, we got very unfortunate news today that there are certain wins for the America First movement that were hard fought by the Trump administration and the House to get into this legislation that will not be considered by the full Senate if they get to the bill because of something called the Byrd rule. So I'm gonna take you into the weeds here, but in order for legislation to only need the 50 votes of 50 Republicans plus the vice president, the Byrd rule says that it is only fiscal policy matters that can be considered. You can't go outside of something that deals with the budget. That is.
So there's the technicalities of what can be done, and there's also the technicalities. Let me switch the screen here. There's also the technicalities over what you can do in an omnibus bill, what you can do in an appropriations bill, what you can do in this type of rescission package. There's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo ragamarole. It's like, oh, well, why don't you codify the Doge cuts? It's like, well, you can't in this type of bill. Well, the parliamentarian is saying, well, you can do this type of thing in a rescission package with 51 votes, but if you do this type of thing by changing the laws, you need 61 or 60 votes, 60 or 61. And so the parliamentarian is I don't know, I guess it's kind of like an umpire ruling balls or strikes. But are they really, or are they acting as an activist just like those lower court judges were doing to issue nationwide injunctions to try to LARP as president?
Is the sandbox you get to play in. And so within that, the House of Representatives thought, well, one of the big drivers of costs in this country is health care that we're giving to illegal immigrants through the Medicaid program. And so if we put a limitation on that in the bill, it fits within the sandbox and is good policy, delivers on a promise we made to people. We got word today that that is being taken out of the legislation by the Senate parliamentarian. Secondarily, there was legislation to stop federal funding for these mutilations on children in the name of like sex change surgeries. And that also has been taken out of the bill.
Unnecessary genital mutilation surgeries. You can't change your sex.
Prohibition against that removed.
You can mangle perfectly functional tools, but you can't change.
By the Senate parliamentarian. And know this. The game you're watching is not the game that's being played. This is a fiction. This is a construct. There are certain senators who are beholden to the hospital industrial complex, and they want to see those federal dollars still move to the hospitals where the executives make donations to their campaign that maybe, are very woven into the political establishment, and they don't want the blame for that. And so they've set up this system where the Senate parliamentarian takes the blame. And no one voted against her. We did not go walk the streets.
if you can hire and fire, why do you want this person in?
In Pennsylvania, we did not go beat out every vote with Turning Point in Arizona. We didn't do all the work to get Georgia back on the right track with election integrity just so that the Senate parliamentarian, some lady nobody voted for against, can tell us that we still have to pay for sex change operations for children and health care for illegal aliens. This has to be called out. Senate Leader John Thune has a responsibility to get these provisions in the bill.
But it might simply be that it has to be a different type of bill. They're arguing it out. Eric Adams trying to fight back against this Zorro who wants to be mayor.
This is a city not of socialism.
No.
This is a city not of socialism.
No.
I've been to socialist countries. This is a city where you could come as a dishwasher and you can own a chain of restaurants. This is a city where you can be a cab driver and then become a doctor. This is a city where you could go from homelessness to building housing. This is a city where you could be a young person who's dyslexic, a young person who was rejected, and eventually to be elected to be the mayor of the city of New York. This is the type of city we're in. This is not a city where you use idealism to state you're giving everything to everyone for free. There's no dignity in someone giving you everything for free. There's dignity in giving you a job.
Jeez. Sounds like a complete repudiation of the Democrat Party to me.
So you can provide for your family and the opportunities that you deserve. So this is not a city of handouts. This is a city of hands up. We're going to lift up the city of New York. And so I'm asking you, New Yorkers, to continue to stand with me as we move this city in the right direction. I'm ready to be your mayor again.
Will Eric Adams be the mayor again? We shall see. Mom Donnie getting called out here.
You're running for mayor? Yes, I can hear it. Isn't this not First Amendment activity, shutting down a business 3 weeks in a row? How many New York City businesses could tolerate to close their location 3 weeks in a row? This is an economic attack on Tesla. How can you sanction this? You will never be mayor. This is not the use of the First Amendment. This is...
Well, let him answer the question. He was ready to answer you. You kept bloviating.
Can you sanction this? You will never be mayor. This is not the use of the First Amendment. This is... Step away from me. Don't advance towards me like that. Yeah, you did. You just came up to me in a threatening manner and you're advancing towards me. Back up. You're running for mayor? Yes, I can hear it. Isn't this not First Amendment activity, shutting down a business 3 weeks in a row? How many New York City businesses could tolerate to close their location 3 weeks in a row? This is an economic attack on Tesla. How can you...
So this guy did a bad job. He had him on the ropes. He was ready to answer the question, and he wouldn't shut up and get out of his own way. Right?
3 weeks in a row. This is an economic attack on Tesla. How can you sanction this?
Right. He's ready to talk. Let him talk.
What this is... You will never...
What this is, and then he cuts him off.
Sanction this. What this is... You will never be mayor.
With you will never be mayor. Listen to his words, man.
You sanction this. What this is... You will never be mayor. This is not the use of the First Amendment. This is... Step away from me. Don't advance towards me like that. Yeah, you did. You just came up to me in a threatening manner and you're advancing towards me. Back up.
I don't know. You got to watch these interviews to know when to get out of your own way. And it's okay to be a hostile interviewer. You got to be dogged. Hostile maybe isn't the right phrase. Anyway, this guy missed his chance to put him on the record. Babylon B here says massive terrorist sleeper cell discovered in Massachusetts. It's a picture of Harvard University. It's pretty funny. Oh, Swalwell. Here you go. From the guy who slept with the Chinese spy.
Well, he's very thin-skinned, you know, for someone...
Talking about Hegseth.
...who likes to thump his chest and thinks that he can define who a warrior is and isn't, and, you know, has tried to remove women from combat roles. He has shown himself to...
You tried to insert yourself into a Chinese communist spy.
...be quite unstable.
You want to talk unstable? Farting during your interview and banging a fang?
At these briefings, and that's probably...
It was Swalwell that ripped that big fart during that interview, right? And look, I'll defend Swalwell. It's not like if you talk enough, you're going to be talking and have to kind of, release deploy the pressure release valve. But I mean, it really does. It really does kind of like encapsulate who Swalwell is. Slimy, smarmy, shady, compromised. His ideas stink, and he probably stinks.
Because he's quite unqualified. Now, thankfully...
Saying he's quite unqualified. Look at this unimpressed face. Here, let's zoom in. Look at this lady's unimpressed face. Let me full screen it. Not me. There you go. Could this lady be any more unimpressed with Stinky Swalwell?
We do have a number of qualified leaders in our military.
Oh, in your military, are they pre-approved by Fang Fang after you're done banging the Chinese spy?
And that's who I think should be forward.
Oh, I'm glad we get your opinion on who should be in charge of our military assets. Dude that's banging a Chinese spy, allegedly.
Facing, front.
Are those allegations or any of that confirmed? Or is any of that confirmed?
Facing to the public to answer these questions, not a weekend news anchor from Fox News. Well, he's very thin-skinned.
Right. We need your weekday news piece contributor for CNN. We can't have the weekend guy for Fox News. See, you're qualified, but he's not. We get it. Okay. Cool story. Actually, I'm going to ask Grok. Did Swalwell sleep with a Chinese spy? I think I asked this before, and it could not say conclusively. What's it say here? Full screen. No evidence Swalwell had a relationship with Fang Fang. Really, Fang Fang? A suspected Chinese intelligence operative. Axios reported in 20 that Fang targeted Swalwell and other politicians between 11 and 15, participating in fundraising for his 14 campaign, helping place an intern in his office. Swalwell was not accused of any wrongdoing, and he cut ties with Fang in 15 after an FBI briefing. Allegations of a sexual relationship stem from unverified claims, notably amplified by some Republican figures and media outlets, which cite unnamed sources suggesting a romantic link. Swalwell has not directly addressed these. He's never addressed these claims, stating to CNN that he did not share sensitive information and cooperated fully with the FBI. House Ethics Committee investigated the allegations between 21 and 23 and found no evidence of misconduct, closing the probe without action. Posts on X and some opinion pieces perpetuated the narrative of a sexual relationship, but they lack concrete evidence and often rely on speculation or political rhetoric. Axios explicitly noted that while Fang had romantic relationships with two Midwestern mayors, she got around. No such allegations were made about Swalwell. Without verified proof, these claims remain unconfirmed and appear to be politically motivated exaggerations. Or, there's a phrase that I use with one of my buddies. It's one of his favorite quotes. We laugh about it. One, because of how absurd it is, and two, because of how real it is. It can be both things, like Yogi Berra. That place is so busy, nobody goes there anymore. My line was, my lack of evidence doesn't make me wrong. And that's a Brian original right there. All right, so they're either politically motivated exaggerations or unconfirmed allegations. I mean, it's important to be accurate. So Paul Spula says Swalwell swept with the Chinese spy. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But Hegseth took out Iran's nuclear facilities. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. We only know what we think we know. And we're all kind of just guessing at this point. All right. Talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson and how she embarrassed herself.
The Supreme Court has turned the universal injunctions into fish food, as well it should have. There's no basis in statute. There's no basis in Supreme Court precedent. There's no basis in English common law for universal injunctions. Judges who just dislike what Congress and a president, any president has done, just made them up. And good riddance. I'm proud of the Supreme Court. It's a very extensive ruling. You can tell it from Justice Jackson's dissent. She's mad as a bag of cats, and that's probably a good thing for the American people. Look,
she's mad as a bag of cats. I would never. Protect our cats. Wall Street Ape says, Zoran Mendani says, in this city, we have 1 million Muslims. This is the quote. When you go and vote, remember, it is our opportunity to show that Muslims don't just belong in New York City. We belong in City Hall, too. Sharia law is literally right around the corner in America, says Wall Street Apes. General Mike Flynn says in this speech, he's politicking inside of a mosque. The imam is standing right next to him. If a Catholic priest allowed a politician to speak like this and say St. Patrick's Cathedral, the left would lose their minds and condemn it immediately. Assimilating into American culture is not a nice thing. It's a necessary thing. Otherwise, in time, we become a monolithic society where tyranny rules, and this type of tyranny has already been observed in history, which is why the Ottoman Empire is no longer an empire, but its demise came at great sacrifice. Pay attention, people. Either we have our country based on the values, virtues, and principles founded in our Constitution, or we don't have a republic at all. We still have choices. Hashtag America First. Go ahead and start the name calling. Either you accept America as it was created on the foundation of Judeo-Christian values. Can we just say Christian values? Or go back to where you came. We're great because in general, we are good. We do have to take care of our American home and rid it of corruption in our government. Yes, people must be held accountable, and that is what we voted for, and we're still waiting for results. But one thing Americans can do is get involved as citizens in their own communities. So that's General Flynn on Zoran. Maj Touri says it's time for everyone across the country to donate to Representative Thomas Massie. It'd be pretty amazing if he raised $10 million off this latest smear campaign. We reshared this and said donate to Massie. So Eric Daughtry reporting Trump Political Action Committee launches $1 million TV ad buy against Thomas Massie in the president's aggressive primary campaign against Massie per Axios. MAGA Kentucky is making the purchase. Trump has vowed to campaign against Massie himself in person. Don't do that. Stand down, President Trump. Sort this stuff out. And Massie, what if he is able to come over a little bit more on your side? Are you willing to engage in government, or it's every vote's going to be symbolic? And if something isn't perfect, you absolutely refuse. I will say I can't stand when libertarians in their purity contests. Nothing is pure enough for a libertarian to sign off on. I get it. I get the ideological superiority. But when making sausage, sometimes you got to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty. Sometimes you got to make some compromises. Well, there's never a compromise on value. All right. I know, but like, would you like to get 7 good things done? Well, it has to be 10. It has to be, can't be 70. It must be 100 of 100 or else, okay. Yeah, go vote for Chase Oliver, I say to my libertarian friends, because he has zero impact in our daily lives because he has no chance to participate. But they won't hold their nose and vote for Trump because he's not perfect. Well, neither is the libertarian candidate who is proposing unnecessary genital mutilation surgeries. Anyway. So yeah, there's the link to donate. Thomas Massie, secure.thomasmassie.com/donate. If anybody can. Bernie Moreno talking about Jerome Powell, how much he's costing Americans right now. It's pretty bad.
I want to move on to something that I noticed yesterday on the Hill, where we saw a verbal takedown that you did of the Fed chair, Jerome Powell. Of course, huge contention about his refusal to lower interest rates in the United States, despite no signs of inflation. Here's a snippet for our viewers.
It says the Federal Reserve plays no role in commenting on trade policy. So you don't comment on supply shocks. You don't comment on tax policy, which clearly affects inflation. You comment on tariffs. So I'm going to just show you.
I don't comment on tariffs at all, actually. I comment on
only
inflation.
commented on tariffs. You've
I'm
only
not commenting on the
tariffs.
wisdom of tariffs.
You are costing this government $400 billion a year by refusing to lower interest rates. I just
Lower
think
the
that you should
damn
consider,
rates.
whether you're really looking at.
I can't take this usury anymore. These interest rates keeping everybody as debt slaves. We have got to stop this system. Yeah, unnecessary genital mutilation. It's not, what do they try to say? It's withholding life-saving, gender-affirming care or something. It's like, no! These people have a mental condition known as gender dysphoria. You don't make it worse by mangling a perfectly functional person. You can be into guys or into girls or into both. You got working parts. Don't start messing with them. They cause permanent problems. You can never change into the other sex. So yeah, it's unnecessary genital mutilation. It's not necessary gender affirming care. Like, you got to reclaim the language. You cannot say, oh, they're undocumented migrants. They're illegal alien invaders. And there's probably a lot of good people mixed in there. So go out, walk back to the front of the club, wait in line, show your ID, go in through the front door. Oh, well, the club's full. Well, then you wait outside. You don't get to just sneak in. There's nothing. This is all common sense, people. It's common sense if we're willing to say it out loud. And all this interest rate stuff, enough already. Cut the damn interest rates. It's called usury, and it's slavery. Stop this stuff. A little bit of overhead for a little bit of processing. There's some software stuff, some computer stuff, some employee stuff. You might need to file paperwork and scan documents. I get it. 1%, 2%. Other than that, this is madness. We've got to get a way to get homes on a 1 or 2% interest rate. There's no reason that 90% of what we pay each month should be going to a fucking bank, sitting there doing nothing. Because if we can pay off our homes in 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years with almost no interest, you know what happens to our purchase power when we're not wasting it all? The improvements we could make on the house to add extensions, build out patios and renovate areas and improve the communities. No, this money has to go to bankers doing nothing, sitting on their fat asses. I'm not trying to go commie here. It's like there's a little bit of an interest that makes sense, but 6%, get out of here. I've gone through this a couple times, and it's just pissing money away, throwing money down the toilet and hitting the flush. It is gross.
Only commented on tariffs. You've
I'm
only
not commenting on the
tariffs.
wisdom of tariffs.
You are costing this government $400 billion a year by refusing to lower interest rates. I just think that you should consider whether you're really looking at this from a fiscal lens or a political lens, because you just don't like tariffs.
Powell is infuriated that Trump's tariffs have not caused a recession or inflation. Should he be removed given the damage he's causing this country, one man?
Absolutely, Laura. He cost this country over $400 billion a year. Plus, this is just the federal government, our cost of borrowing, plus homeowners, people who take out car loans, people who have credit card debt, businesses that are trying to get loans. One man should not be able to cost this economy, this country that much because he has a personal beef with the President of the United States. This guy's term is up next May. I've advocated that he should be immediately removed. We could put somebody in there. If we just lowered our rates to where Japan is, who has higher inflation, Japan has higher inflation than we do, we would save hundreds of billions of dollars. We're in the middle of a tough reconciliation bill where we have to make compromises on what we're going to cut. We wouldn't have to do any of that if we had a person that was willing to just do it with the rational thing and cut interest rates, which is the common sense thing to do. This guy needs to go. He's a partisan.
All right. The Federal Reserve Chairman needs to go. Agree or disagree? Yeah, unlock our economic ability. Get rid of interest rates. This is so stupid. This guy here confessed to crucifying an Arizona pastor in a jailhouse interview.
So you had no previous contact with Pastor Bill?
Zero. I didn't want any previous contact. My only criteria was you're breaking the first commandment.
But Pastor Bill was innocent.
Innocent, in your perspective, there's nothing.
But
worse,
not yours.
But there's nothing worse than breaking the first commandment. I drove from there to Bill's house, like 2 in the morning on a Sunday night, and I executed him. It's fast. I mean, it's, you know, I didn't want it to be bloody. I didn't want it to be a painful. I'm not trying to torture the guy. I just wanted to execute him quickly. Put him in the cross position on the wall, and I screwed him to the wall. And then I had a crown of thorns I put on his head. So he's crucified against the wall with the image of Jesus. Because what I'm saying is, you know, what you're preaching is not what God said. It's the opposite of what God said.
Most people that would come into that scene, Bill's murder scene, would be horrified.
Sure,
Horrified.
that's right.
Were you feeling satisfied?
I wasn't, you know.
I just have so many questions about this story. Why would anyone let this guy talk to a reporter? And this guy says anyone who recognizes Jesus as the Son of God deserves to die, and that was part of a bigger plan.
Oh, I mean, look,
he's got Jewish tattoos on his neck.
It's not in my heart to go.
Or what is it, Hebrew tattoos or something?
Around killing people.
You also have a family. Bill has a family. Did you think about that at all?
No, I'm thinking about the families that are in utter destruction, you know, by following these false teachings and not obeying God and not giving our Creator the respect for giving families life to begin with.
How would you feel, though, if somebody crucified you?
Good luck trying.
Do you think you're a monster?
Do I think I'm a monster? No.
It's a gruesome killing of another person. Most people would consider that monstrous.
This feels very scripted or staged or acted or something. Have you heard about this story? And no, I haven't. Megan? About an AI doll? No. I did see a movie with Megan Fox where she was an AI robot. Forget the name of it. I watched it a month or two ago.
Sure, of course
But
they
you
would.
don't think you are?
No, I see myself as more of like a saint.
So when did this plan come to fruition? You're thinking about this, you want to carry out this hit list?
Yes.
A hit list.
Sure.
14 pastors.
That's right. Around the nation, to surround the nation.
Starting in Arizona?
Starting in Arizona where I was born. Where it starts is where it ends, like the Garden of Eden. I start in Phoenix where I was born on this life, and I'm going to end in Phoenix where I was baptized, which I don't appreciate, when I was 3 years old by my parents. You know, I'm baptized in a belief that is completely false.
So you get to Phoenix.
I get to Phoenix. I just set up a tent under a tree on Olive Street, and I followed that priest home Sunday after Easter service. And when he pulled into his driveway, the 2 women came out of the garage. I'm not interested in executing anyone other than the pastors or the shepherds leading the flock astray. I need to find pastors or priests that live alone.
If you had gotten away with Bill's murder, where were you going to go next?
That's where I got caught, was with,
Sedona.
But yeah, in Sedona. I had both of the leather tags made out, both of the thorn crowns.
Yeah, where'd you get a thorn crown?
In the desert, you know, the trees with the thorns on them. I cut it and make a crown of thorns. I just, in a circle, you know? So I had both of those priests as my target.
Is something about this off to you guys? This is from Hotspot. I don't know. Is this from a TV show or a movie? Here's a report here.
Pastor Bill Shaneman, and he admits to our camera, to our Lauren Clark, that he is responsible for that brutal murder.
He made no bones about it. He says this was part of a plan to kill 14 Christian leaders in 10 states across the country. Lauren Clark now joins us live to explain, and we've got to warn you up front, these details are disturbing.
Well, John and Ellen, first of all, before I go into the details of that interview, I want to start with the man who is the victim in this case. I think that is super important. Pastor Bill Shaneman. He was beloved in his community. This was a man, according to people.
All right, so this is reported by Fox Local here.
People who knew him really well, who would do anything to help out a person in need, a light in his community, a light that Adam Schiff admitted to me right here in the Coconino jail about 2 hours ago that he took. He showed no remorse or regret for his actions. Led into the room in shackles, Adam Christopher Schiff admitted to murder. Did you kill Pastor Bill Shaneman?
Yes.
So he's doing a whole media tour. Why are they allowing this? Why is his lawyer allowing this? He's doing a whole media tour to get attention for it. Something's off.
He justified his actions with religion, citing his twisted belief that Christian pastors are leading people into a false path by following Jesus. He said Pastor Bill was the first in a plot he called Operation First Commandment, aimed at killing and then crucifying 14 Christian leaders across the country. He admitted that he was about to kill 2 priests at the Chapel of the Holy Cross in Sedona before he was arrested by police.
The day that I was going to execute that priest, I tried getting into the back of his car, and there was like an older lady that was on like a small little bicycle that got into my way. And I was just going to get into the back seat and tell him to drive to his house.
I asked if Adam was ever victimized by anyone in the Christian faith. He said no. He said his family is Christian and that he had a good childhood. He denied being mentally unwell. But Pastor Bill, speaking to people who knew and loved him, his family, he helped people get back on the right track in this world. He helped a woman who was living out of her car go into a house and get her life back on track. Do you think what you took was precious or valuable in any way? Adam answered that question with a religious tangent. He said he was not sorry for what he did.
Will I apologize for my actions? Absolutely not.
So
Adam also told me that he had used drugs before, but he did not believe that that is impacting his mental state. He also said he would be okay with execution. Reporting live here in Flagstaff, Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News.
all right, so that's a story that might have missed your radar. I found it weird and interesting. Here's another weird, interesting story about 5th grade girls arrested for a murder plot.
Just end him. That was the goal of a group of 10 and 11-year-old girls who surprise police say wanted to kill a boy at school. The motive? He's accused of cheating on one of them, so she wants him dead. The murder plot was simple. According to the police report, 4 5th grade students at Legacy Traditional School's West Surprise campus planned to lure a classmate to the charter school's outside bathroom and stab him in the stomach. And each girl had a role to play to get away with it. One would bring the knife, another would forge a suicide note to make it seem like he took his own life, and someone would act as a lookout while the other carried out the stabbing. And to avoid fingerprints on the murder weapon, they would wear gloves. Documents say the friends came up with the plan during lunch and recess on October 1st. Legacy administrators worked with the school resource officer to investigate when students who overheard the plot came forward. The next day, their backpacks were searched and the suspects were individually questioned with their parents present. All 4 children were then arrested for threatening and disorderly conduct misdemeanor charges. The police report says 3 of the students showed remorse, but the 4th would smile and laugh while making excuses for their actions.
Yep, you got a sociopath amongst the group. Weird stories. I don't know. Okay, the Megan Fox movie where she stars as a robot in the 2024 sci-fi thriller Subservience. It's an AI android purchased by a struggling father, Nick. There you go. That was the one I was thinking of. Anyway, a couple of weird stories, and that's pretty much the gist of what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you for being a part of our Saturday. I'll release you out into this wonderful universe. Go get some sun. Put your feet into the grass. Do some grounding. Do some sunning. Get some work done. Have a great Saturday, everybody. I'll be back on Monday. Thank you, everybody in chat. Kenneth, Deb, Adam, everyone else. David. Who else am I missing? I don't know. Whoever else was in here, thank you for being here. All right. Enjoy a great weekend, people. I'll talk to you soon. I appreciate you. I love you. Take care. Peace.
Your guide to the truth. TheNewAmericanMedia.com.